Stacy Justino is the Director of Customer Happiness at Wistia and has been running their support team for the past 3 years. She's worked her way through the support ranks and has a deep understanding of how to help her customers not just succeed, but excel. So I don't know, I'm kind of an OXO fanboy. So all my cooking utensils are like they're standard black. So it's a little, it's a little dark for the kitchen. Some may think, but it's an accessory.
Well, they're super dependable. Good quality.
They are. That's the thing. Yeah. Like I think in the first week I moved into my new place, I broke like a pair of tongs.
Pair of tongs.
Yeah, well, they were the rubber tongs, and they were left in the pot for maybe a little bit too long. And they kind of melted.
I thought you were like gripping too tight. I was like, lay off the weights.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Without a Roadmap. It's the podcast for tech folks who get the job done but are still figuring it out. My name is Yonas. I'm joined by my co-host Cameron here and a very special guest, Stacy Justino. She's the Director of Customer Happiness at Wistia, and so great to have her on today.
Hi, Yonas. So nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I think Yonas wanted to go over your title, and so I think that's probably the best place to first start. So how about you explain what customer happiness means at Wistia and what your role entails there?
Yeah, so customer happiness at Wistia is primarily customer support, but it's been called customer happiness since its advent. Chris and Brendan, the two founders of Wistia, who are still the founders of Wistia, CEO and CTO, that's what they wanted to call the customer support team. And as an extension of that, our customer support reps are actually called customer champions. And I'm pretty sure they were the first company to call support reps customer champions. Now there's a few support orgs that do this, and a few orgs that call it customer happiness, but I am pretty positive Wistia was the first. Customer support has always been really important to Wistia, very customer focused company, not only just providing good quality support, but also working to improve the product to minimize some of those pain points that come up through support. Because really nobody wants to contact support, right? You want to eliminate as many situations where they have to contact you. So that's kind of really the heart of it. The other part is that, customer happiness, while it is our team, that responsibility, I think, falls on everybody at our company. We will do all hands support sometimes, but we also have a program called Champ for a Day. So you sign up for a shift you can sign up every quarter. Most people are doing it 3 or 4 times a year, and you can spend a 2-hour shift in the inbox answering real customer questions. Before we went remote, oftentimes we would 3 to 6 members of our team would be in the kitchen with the 2 or 3 people who were doing their Champ for a Day shift, working in the kitchen together so we could help them work through some problems. If it was an engineer, maybe they would grab some tickets around our API. If it was someone on finance, maybe it was working on refunds or billing issues. So it was a really great way for everyone in the company to lend a hand, get to know the actual issues customers are writing us for, getting to know what the job is like for our customer champions as well.
I love that. And I'm really curious, is there a team in particular that seems to really enjoy Champ for a Day?
That is a really good question. I wouldn't say so much a team, but we have a few folks who just crush it every time. They are they always ask really good questions. They're like, oh, well, what about this? And we're like, oh yeah, that's really great. Looking for to put together the best, craft the best response. And it's funny, we actually had a time in November of 2018 where we were really far behind because we needed to hire a bunch of people. So we were falling behind. Before, we would usually call for all hands support, like, hey, everybody in the company answer 1 or 2 tickets to kind of help us on our backlog. But we wanted to try a new strategy. So we went through and looked at the folks who had helped out the most in the inbox over the last year, the year before. And we called them our customer support dream team. So we called in our dream team to come help us out, because a lot of times for Champ for a Day, folks have a lot of questions of our support team. So we're doing a little bit of hand holding to help these other folks in the company answer support tickets, which is fine because that's part of the experience. But to really help us crush this backlog, putting together this dream team, a la, USA, was it 92?
There we go. Yep.
Basketball dream team.
Yep.
I did include an image of that in my email to
I love it.
recruit our dream team.
I love it.
And that was actually super effective. And some of those folks and everybody who we picked was like so proud to be picked to be part of the dream team, which I think just speaks volumes to that culture.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, do people like take like sort of pride, like when they go in to do their champ for the day, and they want to be like the best in the company, or like make like a big impression on folks?
Oh yeah, people love it. We're kind of revamping it because we switched our support platform, so we have to kind of figure out a different way to do it because our new support platform works pretty significantly like differently than the old one. So a lot of people are like really have been clamoring, "When are you bringing back Champ for a Day?"
As if they can't just log in and hop in the inbox, or is that not allowed on any other day?
They can. But since we moved to a new platform, we haven't really set up like a training for the new people. Because one of the things for Champ for a Day, almost every single new hire goes through it in their second week or before we had to sort of push pause on the program. So from the get-go, everybody kind of knew how to answer support tickets, so they could jump in if they wanted to, or we're curious. Sometimes we've had people jump in like from product when we've launched a new feature. And so that's another way that folks have jumped in and sort of that customer happiness culture pervading throughout our organization.
Awesome.
Right. I love making a product go in there after a new feature, just to let them know, like, hey, you didn't build it exactly like you said you did, or there are some bugs here. I want you to experience it firsthand.
So Stacy, I actually think you're the first customer support representative that's ever come on to the podcast. So I think it'd be helpful if you could actually start really like very much at the top. Could you talk to us a little bit about customer support at customer happiness at Wistia organization in general? A little bit about what the day-to-day responsibilities look like. What are some of the metrics that you're tracking for on your team, and what success looks like for the org?
Yeah, so we, are here to answer our customer questions, right? That's the simplest sort of thing we do, right? Customer submits an email, comes into live chat, submits a ticket through our contact form, and we reply. What our support looks like more so is probably 80% of the tickets we get are things that a customer might have a little trouble solving on their own. Maybe it's a issue with their video embedded on their website. So they've uploaded their video to Wistia and they generated the embed code that's on their website, but the video is not looking like they thought it was going to look, or it's not passing through the information to their marketing automation platform. So our customer champions do a lot of detective work, right, to figure out what the actual pinpoint where the issue is happening. Then of course there's billing and account issues. One thing with Wistia is we don't have just one type of customer running into us. They could be the marketing manager, they could be the developer, they could be the IT person, it could be the finance accounting person who is processing payments for vendors. So every day you could be talking to a wide range of roles. So what we mainly are looking at in terms of KPIs is average first reply time, right? We have different goals based on the customer plan. So our premium customers and advanced plan customers, we want a shorter reply time than our pro plan customers or free plan customers. We provide live chat for advanced plan customers within their Wistia account. We also look at customer satisfaction. Internally, we also do quality reviews. We have a peer review program, so people review tickets from their peers. And we have a benchmark for that as well. We also kind of look at like replies, average number of replies per ticket. So it'd be real great if we're like answering tickets really quickly, but what if we are not being very efficient and there's a lot of back and forth? So that's another like lens through which we look at our performance. And then of course, We have a pretty robust help center. So we've just started looking at sort of KPIs around help center usage, because that ownership of that had a couple of owners on our team. So the current owner, Caroline, has been really working to start assessing the efficiency and effectiveness of our help center.
Nice. I think to take a step back outside of the metrics, for those who don't know, and also be great for my knowledge as well. Like when, say, you're going to a new company and they don't have any customer support process like involved, started, everyone's kind of just answering emails on the fly and just trying to get things done like your early stage startup. Well, how would you go about building out a customer support process at an organization? Like what are some of the first couple things you would do to try to implement that process and make it a more formal thing within the company that the company does and tries to improve upon and track towards making sure that their customers are getting the support they need when they need it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think if they don't have any public facing FAQ or help center, that's the first good place to start, because that's a lot where a lot of people go. They're looking for help first before they try to like contact you, right? So that would be like where I would start. If that already exists, making sure that the way we are handling emails, so having an actual support platform, if you're just having a Gmail inbox, that is not great for reporting on tracking volume. A lot of the support platforms you can spin up pretty quickly. Then you can get more complex and granular as things go on. And one of the best benefits of using one of those support platforms is you can track ticket volume, which is how you're going to know how many people you need to hire, right? If you're tracking the rate at which your tickets are growing, you can see, then you can predict ticket volume. Okay, we know we're going to increase our users by X% over this amount of time. And we know this is our current ticket creation rate based on our current volume of customers. So we know we'll probably increase tickets coming in by this much, which is probably another person. And then I think document all your processes. So as soon as you kind of do something a few times and it seems like, okay, this is the way we're going to do it, just write it down.
Right.
So yeah, write it down. When in doubt, write it down. And then I think the last part is having a way to give feedback to engineering, product. And it could be really simple to start, right? You don't want to over engineer things, but maybe you have one engineer who is your point person and you triage bugs through that person, and that's the process. Maybe there's like a PD&E, product design engineering sync, that happens, and one person from the support team goes to represent support. And I think agreeing with those teams on what the cadence is and like what the expectations are. Okay, if customer support reports a bug, what is the expectation for when it will get assigned to someone or followed up on? Or if a bug is open for X amount of time, do we close it out? And who gets to make that decision? So I think kind of being on the same page as like the other teams in the organization, I think is super helpful to start too.
Mm-hmm. Before I know we want to go into like the customer support working cross-functionally with engineering and product in a separate topic. Before we get there, I do want to ask, to kind of give some more context there, is that we know that things come into customer support. Sometimes there's bugs, sometimes there's just general questions. And we know those all aren't on the same urgency level as, hey, you need to fix this thing because I can't log in, or hey, I need help with this video. It's not being embedded and we're trying to relaunch our website tomorrow. Like, how do you go about categorizing how urgent different customer support issues are that come in through your customer champion team?
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on a few different factors. So like if it is stopping the customer from doing the thing that they need to do, then on a one-to-one interaction, that's probably pretty important to prioritize. At my last company, Big Fish Games, we prioritize subscription cancellation requests, because somebody's writing to you to cancel. First of all, you could actually do it on our website. So if they couldn't find that out, then they're probably already frustrated. So we would try to get back to those within 24 hours, whereas other billing and account issues, we just had our normal 72-hour turnaround, but we were prioritizing those because that was like a high pain point and like a, bad customer experience that we wanted to get taken care of right away. I think that in terms of like the things where you'd want to go back to the product or you'd be like, this needs to be fixed right away. What is the severity, right? How many customers is this impacting? Either how many total, or like if this is all like your premium customers, top tier customers, maybe that's only like 100 or 1,000, but wow, their satisfaction and their experience is paramount. So that might be a reason why you raise the alarm, or maybe call in the emergency button or whatever it is you have. And then I think if it's global, right, you're like, whoa, nobody can access our product. And I think the other thing is if it stops money from coming in, that is another raise the alarms. People can't pay us. That's the problem.
Yeah, big problem.
And I think of a lot of customer support tickets as being like product related, like, hey, I am struggling to do X, or I can't do Y. I'm curious, like, what does it require from the customer champions in terms of like product knowledge and their kind of understanding of the ins and outs of their product, but also how each of their customers use it, and how do you go about training a team to get them ready for every which way that a customer might come at them?
That is the challenge. I think that you identify what are the most common things that they're going to come across and what is sort of the foundational knowledge they need, right? For example, at Big Fish Games, you didn't need to be an expert on every game to release a new game every day. We had multiple mobile titles that one person might be supporting 10 titles at a time, but you really needed to teach them where to find the answers. And making sure that like your internal documentation is really good, so people know where to go. Make sure your escalation process is really good, so when somebody gets stuck, I can't find the answer, what do I do next? Oh, we have a process to escalate that to a senior support person. So identifying like what are the mission critical knowledge they need to have like a foundation. So at Wistia, you have to know how the Wistia product works, right? What are all the different steps? First, somebody creates their Wistia account, then they upload a video, then that video is encoded, then they can customize it, et cetera, right? And then maybe you're teaching them more advanced things about how our APIs work, troubleshooting CSS conflicts, which is more common, but you kind of layer things, right? The first, like in our training at Wistia, the first week is like Wistia walkthrough that Harper, one of our senior support specialists, who is one of our 2 training and onboarding folks as well, he made a video series that like has moments to pause and have the person going through it try the thing out in the app, to get them feel comfortable in the app. And then you can layer on the sort of, well, then how do we actually go about supporting this?
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I feel like the training and like the knowledge transfer is super important, like you said, because it's not only about knowing it, but also knowing where to find things and find answers to. And then also, it's like you said, writing things down, right? So anytime something new that comes across that maybe the support person that's looking at it doesn't have the answer to, maybe somebody that also doesn't know, maybe it's a brand new product and not everybody's fully up to speed on how things are supposed to work specifically. It's always a matter of fact of just writing it down. So like the next person or the next interaction, the next question that comes in, that information is there ready to be accessed, and the person can just go ahead and help the customer out.
Exactly. And having sort of that process for either submitting somewhere, there's this page needs to be created. I had this question, I couldn't find the answer. We need this sort of template because we get this question all the time. And being able to empower people on your team to either, if permissions allow, make those updates, or have a place where they can submit things to either be, prioritized or just kind of fixed.
Speaking of that, I'm curious if the support team also takes into account the types of feedback that you're hearing from your customers and the requests that they're making, and what does that process look like between product and engineering to try and get those items prioritized?
Yeah, so one of the first things is making sure that when we're categorizing tickets correctly, right, or in a way that is useful to product and engineering. for our second product, Soapbox, I went through this exercise with a few people on my team to redefine and rework our ticket topics, the way we tagged those tickets. So we went and looked at what was actually being used of the ticket topics that had already been created, defined those, created new ones, or maybe renamed some so that if a champ was looking at that, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's what that means. And also created an internal doc that had all those definitions. Before we rolled it out, we went to the product and engineering folks who were working on Soapbox and said, hey, does this map to how you look at these types of problems? Do these definitions sort of align? And we actually made a couple of adjustments. For this example, we had a recording ticket topic and a saving ticket topic, but the team actually looked at recording and saving as like the same process. So we combined them into one because it wasn't really useful or actionable to have them as two separate ones. So that's kind of a way that we made sure that we're giving, useful information to product. And so we've continued to do that, make sure that we're tagging tickets accurately and that the way we're tagging them can be used by the other teams. One other way is, we have methods for submitting product feedback. And so making sure that we're being detailed about the feedback we're given. And one thing as a company we've really tried to do is like focus on feedback from our target customers too, right? And so one key thing is making sure that your support team really understands who our target customer is.
Got it. And I'm curious, since we're actually Parlor's a feedback company, like what the interactions between product and customer support look like. Like are there regular meetings between the teams where folks are kind of trying to, raise the alarm that 10 people have asked for this new feature this week, and if we don't build it, then they're going to kill me? Or is it more of a like, hey, we've got this process, we're going to drop it in a bucket, they'll review it, and when it rises to our priority list, then we'll address it?
It's a little bit of both, right? So we have this system, this process for submitting feedback. Anybody in the company can submit product feedback, right? And it goes into the software we use, and the product managers and a user research team kind of use that to inform some of their decisions. We also have a regular product manager meeting, and every one of those meetings, one of our senior support members goes and attends. And so it's kind of to go both ways, because sometimes they're talking about things a little earlier on, and you then have a support person in the room to be like, maybe ask some clarifying questions, or at least kind of know what's kind of coming down the pipeline so that we can know whether, is this something that's going to impact a lot of help articles or require in-depth training, so we can start preparing for those things before it's a little too late to give us some lead time. And then if something really comes up that is a super high pain point, or I think what most often happens is after something is released, our product team is hyper aware and really wants to hear what our customers are saying about something new, right? So I think that those are the kind of the different ways. And like I was saying before, sometimes that means they're actually looking in the inbox to see that, or we commit to saying, hey, we're going to be tracking this. We've added a tag. We'll send you either daily or weekly updates on the volume. And if it was something new, like when we launched podcasts, we actually had one of our folks look through those tickets to maybe come up with themes, if there were any themes, rather than these are just podcast tickets.
Right. To kind of switch gears away from the cross-functional interactions between engineering, product, and maybe design in some organizations, to go back to customer support, the customer support space. You mentioned earlier that you switched to a new customer support platform. So I'm really curious about what kind of innovations are going on in the customer support space right now.
Yeah, I think there's actually a lot. So it's super exciting. I really geek out around customer support tools. I started as like a manager in customer support, a team lead in 2010, 2011. And one of the first sort of like innovations was customer support quality tools, because all teams who were doing quality reviews were basically using spreadsheets.
Oh, okay.
And let me tell you, it was a big pain. And if you wanted to change your rubric, it required changing a bunch of formulas, fields, multiple tabs of worksheets that fed into like another tab. And so when that started coming out, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And now there are multiple softwares that do customer support quality. And so that's, I think, a pretty, like a big innovation. And a lot of data platforms, customer support data platforms, are incorporating or building a quality function so that they can tie in the data from the quality reviews into the rest of their data platform. And so I think that that is pretty exciting. I think there's a lot more interesting automation platforms that are kind of coming out. You know, auto tagging tickets, auto analyzing for sentiment. There's some that actually automatically sort of review the quality. You can still do human quality reviews, but if you could look at every single ticket and get a sense of the quality, well, that's pretty awesome. Some of the other, the newer support platforms are like moving towards being truly omni-channel. A lot of legacy support platforms say they are omni-channel because they offer every channel, but a lot of times they acquired companies and integrated them. So really they're like integrations that use the same color scheme. But but on the back end, if you're the admin, each of them is separate, has a different like information, data architecture, system of building flows and rules and triggers and automations. And so the newer ones are truly like these people are building a support platform from the ground up. So for example, the platform we use now, the way you build a flow for phones, emails, and chat basically follow the same flow builder. So as an admin, it's much easier.
Right. So it's all about making the lives of the customer support team, whether those are the leaders down all the way down to the individual contributors, lives a lot easier, so they can probably have better quality responses to the folks that need the help in the moment, right there for an actual human to interact with them.
Yeah, 100%. And so I think that's it. The agent experience is so much more important. And if you have like all these things, if like Harvard Business Review, Business Insider are saying how employee experience actually improves customer experience. I mean, I could have told you that, but now it's official. So the fact that a lot of these new platforms are really focusing on improving the agent experience is because of the impact that actually will have on customers.
One of the things that also comes up when I think of innovation and support tools is kind of like the follow-up experience. Like after a ticket has been closed, like I've been seeing some really interesting follow-ups where I get an email asking me how my experience was like the next time that I land on the website, and like it seems like it's also they're trying to kind of funnel those support experiences back into kind of like almost marketing. And I know NPS is another one of the kind of big ticket items that a lot of support teams are responsible for. Is NPS something that your team is responsible for? And if so, how are you kind of building those campaigns?
At Wistia, Net Promoter Score is not something that the support team owns. That has been historically owned by the marketing side of things. We've had a lot of changes in sort of the structure. We actually are really working on that right now. We restructured things so all the go-to-market teams, sales, marketing, creative, support, and success are all report to our COO. And so we're really focusing on the customer journey. So I think the next time you would ask me, I'd have more to say on that. The one thing I am looking to implement is customer effort score, which is a little bit different. Basically ask how easy did we make it to solve your problem today or get support? Because satisfaction oftentimes is not actually tied to the quality or the effectiveness of support, right? It's about a lot of times how somebody feels or whether they liked your answer or not.
Exactly.
So the customer effort score seems to me to be more actionable because that question is how easy did we make it to solve your problem?
Right. Well, Stacy, I think we have one last question to wrap things up. I'd like to do these wrap-up questions to get your thoughts on some interesting questions we have. So for today, for you is what's a growing trend in the customer support space that you're really buying into and that you're really excited about?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. I touched on it a little bit, but I do think that um, what is really sort of kind of happening now is some companies were able to make customer support their key differentiator, but I
Mm.
think that good support is now basically table stakes. So now you have to figure out how to innovate in your support team. So you can't just keep doing things the way you've always done them. It doesn't mean changing things for the sake of changing them, but it's really trying to figure out, what do your customers need out of support? And that changes, right? I think that's the thing too, is adapting. um, at Big Fish Games, we went from being a PC Mac downloadable games company to being a mobile free to play company, and that is a huge shift in customer demographic. And then, generally speaking, people were looking at our responses on their phones, yet we were still sending these long, in depth emails that were tailored to troubleshooting PC downloadable game issues. And we had to make that pivot. We didn't make it, I don't think, nearly as quick as we should have. But I think now that is more important, to have to adapt to your customers and adapt to the changes in technology, right? So I think that that is where things are going. And I think talking about all the support tools that are coming up, I think that's where things are moving. But if a support team isn't moving in that direction too, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, I love that. That's very similar to what Mike Lemire, VP of Customer Success at Toast, who was on the show a couple weeks ago, mentioned, changing their support articles from long form posts to kind of bite-sized pieces to get people in and out, because that's what the customers that they had needed. They didn't have time to sit there reading through long documentation. So I love that point, and the fact that both you two mentioned it. Well, Stacy, thanks so much for your time, reminding everybody tuning in to thank a support champion on your team. I think they go underappreciated, and thanks for reminding us of how important this org is, and appreciate you coming on and sharing some knowledge with us. Everybody listening in, be sure to subscribe to the show for more interesting content and great guests. And we'll catch you in a couple weeks.